John Mateer and Oklahoma square off with Lenore Sellers, Dylan Stewart, and South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium. Now, both of these teams are coming off of very tough losses in college football's Week 7. Let's start with Oklahoma. They need to be able to establish a sense of the run game. It had been evident coming into this game that really, besides John Mateer on the season, you take away a bit of the Kent State game, they had not really run the football that well, except for John. Texas took that away from Oklahoma very early in this game, and this team finished with under 2 yards a carry on the day against Texas. Of course, people are going to talk about the criticisms. 3 interceptions. John Mateer wasn't seeing the field all that well. Maybe shouldn't have started, but look, when you don't have any sense of the run game, it's hard on your starting quarterback. John Mateer needs help from his running backs, whether it be Blaylock, whether it be Robinson, Jaden Ott. We'd heard about these guys in the backfield running for Oklahoma. They need to be better against South Carolina. Things need to be blocked better up front. Now, South Carolina, they present a number of challenges on that defensive front. Why? Because of Dylan Stewart, the star edge player for the Gamecocks. Now, I really understand that this team is coming off of a loss in which they felt good against LSU on the road, going into Death Valley, believing that they could be able to be close in this one late with a lead because they thought they could run the football and stop the run against LSU. LSU had no ability to run the football early on in the season. Frankly, for this one, South Carolina fans are disappointed because they ran the football for 193 yards on 45 carries. They fully committed to the run game. Faison had a great performance. Matt Fuller with that breakaway run there. And you're thinking, man, South Carolina's in this one. And then you give up 166 yards on the ground, 5.5 yards a carry. Caden Durham kills you. Johnson kills you. And you don't have any answers for that, along with Garrett Nussmeier having a little bit of a sporadic day in the office, but still threw for over 250 yards and had the 2 touchdowns. Immediately in this one, I'm expecting it to be somewhat low scoring. I don't believe either of these teams will be capable of putting up 30 points on the other. Now, let's talk a bit about Oklahoma and their 12 tackles for loss against Texas in Red River. 12 tackles for loss, and this team lost this game by a wide margin. That's how dominant Texas was defensively. 5 sacks of John Mateer. John Mateer had only been sacked a combined 4 times in the season prior to the Red River game. I was surprised, along with Brent Venables was surprised, at sort of the lack of intensity, energy, effort from this Oklahoma squad. When going into it, that first possession of the game, place was on fire. It was electric. Not that the crowd wasn't a great energy source throughout the day for Oklahoma. It's just that this offense, they stalled out. That plays from the passing game that we've become a little bit accustomed to throughout the season early. We're already halfway through this thing. Just were not there. Whether it would be Mateer, whether it be Hawkins, it almost makes you think, man, maybe this was Mateer coming back a little bit too soon. These are 2 starting quarterbacks in this matchup that have both dealt with injuries and have missed time. John Mateer, look, an unbelievable ability. It was 17 days off of the broken hand surgery to be back out there competing for his team. That's just an element of toughness and will, guts to be out there fighting for his guys. I got to tell you, it's fairly impressive, and he's got my stamp of approval. One of my favorite players to watch in college football. It's the same thing with Lenore Sellers. I believe a lot of South Carolina fans have been disappointed that they'd heard all about this Nick Harbor, Lenore Sellers connection going into the season, that this receiving core had so many dynamic targets that they were going to turn the page and turn Sellers into a bona fide Heisman contender because of the ability to pass the football in the middle of the field, attacking the middle of the field. There's ability to try the outside threats, the deep shots to Harbor, the catch and run ability, but also they were believing with the North Sellers' run ability, extending plays, that there would be a lot more of a dimension of the run game because defenses would be having to defend that. They'd have to throw 2 high safeties, cover the top of the defense, and that would allow the run game to open up. Now, in this matchup, very much so excited at looking at the matchup of this Oklahoma defensive line, which has been terrific. They were very good against Texas. Only one sack on the day. Of course, who else but our Mason Thomas for that Oklahoma front. And then that South Carolina offensive line, which again, they have struggled at times throughout the season. 5 sacks from LSU on the day. They were able to get after the quarterback. Those guys like Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins, who have been a little bit criticized by LSU in media, they were able to have big days, each of them picking up sacks on South Carolina, limiting Lenore Sellers. I went into that matchup, if you checked out my South Carolina versus LSU prediction, that LSU has a Harold Perkins. Most teams don't have a guy that can go sideline to sideline with rangy ability to run him down. There's a player for South Carolina that has an ability on one side of the field playing the edge position to be able to out-athlete, be as much of an athlete for a limitation of what John Mateer can do with his legs. He's going to have to be cleaner inside the pocket. I really believe that missing a bit of time, not practicing can hurt you, especially Texas coming off of that road loss against Florida. This was an incredibly motivated team. Backs against the wall. Probably season is over with the third loss of the season, especially a second SEC loss that they had a lot to play for. They were a lion backed up into a corner, and that they came out with a massive amount of energy. And Dylan Stewart, this is a guy that can come after the quarterback and get to John Mateer. John Mateer needs to get the football out of his hands quicker. This offense with Arbuckle, I think it needs to be oriented around a little bit of quicker passes, get Mateer settled earlier into this game, take away the threat of the pass rushing attack of what South Carolina possesses. It's like a typical stat line to Stewart will just have 2 tackles for loss on the year. He's one of those unbelievable players that really has gone under the radar a little bit in the Southeast Conference this year just because of the third loss of the season for South Carolina. Now this becomes a must-win game for Oklahoma. No way that they can drop another loss, the second SEC loss on the year after starting off the season 5-0. Now I got to, of course, talk about the matchup of South Carolina, about what I talked about, the defensive line for Oklahoma. They need to continue to try and establish the run. I believe that they had success against LSU because they were respecting that speed and Lenore Sellers' ability to scramble. He had 22 carries against LSU on the day. I spoke of the athleticism of LSU and what they have. South Carolina has athletes, but not to the tune of a Weeks and a Perkins and what they have. I'm expecting that Oklahoma, that they are going to have a tough time being able to line up and limit Lenore Sellers so much, although that we've seen that pass rush really get after it. Can we get Rachel Faison 17, 18 carries? I love his ability to immediately hit the hole. He's got great contact balance. And then, of course, Lenore Sellers getting him outside, 12, 13 carries in this game. I don't want to see a rush fest where John Mateer, Lenore Sellers, each of these guys are possessing the football 20 times, keeping it on the ground, and we just see missed opportunities over the middle of the football field, and they're not being able to take advantage of guys that are running open. I want to see higher quality of quarterback play. These are 2 quarterbacks that are touted to be potential first-round picks when they do come out for the draft. John Mateer, a lot of people were saying he's the favorite for the Heisman Trophy before he went down. The ability to throw the football, he came back with an intent and a purpose to win games. This is a big one that needs to win on the road now in a hostile environment at Williams-Brice. I look at these 2 head coaches, really respect and like them. Brent Venables, Shane Beamer, these guys are up on. Brent Venables is a bit more of the hard nose, and Beamer's got the style of positivity and firing his guys up in that way, where Venables has this standard and you're going to obey and live by that. And he's got great relationships with his players. But you could see that game against Texas, they almost seemed a little bit tight on the offensive side of the ball, in which you thought it would be the opposite of that coming out against Oklahoma. And then John Mateer, his decision-making was not great in that game. He definitely has to be smarter with the football. That interception at the end of the first half, the second interception was not on him. That was just a flat out drop. But he knows he has to be better making decisions at the end of the first half. I mean, come on. They're they're looking to extend the lead by 6 points. They're up by 3. It's a chance to kick a 46-yard field goal, and then he throws that interception that's ill-advised. I don't know what it is with quarterbacks down inside the 30, inside the red zone, where they feel a need to try and force the football when it doesn't have to be that way. I like Oklahoma to win this game truly because of that defense. I still think that the Sooners possess a top 5 defense in the country. They were top 2 statistically going into the game against Texas. This is a unit that gets after the quarterback. They tackle, wrap really well. The back end is very strong. It'll be very tough for South Carolina. I don't think they're going to run the football the way that Texas did. It's going to be tough sledding, hard yards in the middle, going through that defense. When you have guys for Oklahoma like Taylor Wine or Colby McKenzie or Kendall Daniels, each of them having multiple tackles for loss, you understand for South Carolina, that's going to be tough. This needs to be a Lenore Sellers passing attack game in order for them to have success. I think that it is a 24-20 type win for Oklahoma. I don't see them blowing out South Carolina. This is a team I really had confidence that they could have a shot to win at the end versus LSU. Disappointed with sort of the way that one went, with them stalling out with drives continuously in the second half, and then the interceptions sloppy from both teams. Both of these teams need a win. Someone's going to come out with a win. That's what we're very excited for this matchup. Let me know down below in the comments who you think comes out with a win, whether it be South Carolina, whether it be Oklahoma. Really much so looking forward to this one. These quarterbacks and their dynamic ability with their legs and their big, strong arms, they have that different style to them where they each have something in particular, like Lenore Sellers and his ability to almost extend a play slithering through the hole, where John Mateer's like in some cases that sheer brute force in the pocket, kind of pushing a guy over, trying to make space. That's not exactly the way you want to make a living because of the next level in the NFL. I think that he got a little bit of taste of the SEC with Texas being a different level of defense that he's even faced. Auburn is pretty good, but Texas is another level above that with Anthony Hill and Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, that they've just got dogs of another level there, and he's going to see another one next week in Stewart. So I appreciate you so much for watching. Let me know down below whether you agree, disagree with the 24-20 prediction. I appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoyed, please subscribe for more Blitz with Blender content in the future. I make NFL and college videos every day. So fired up. We're getting into that second half of the college football season. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next time.